Knowing how to prep for ACT and SAT exams can help you feel confident as you walk into your testing session and give your best effort to earn the score that you are looking for. Today, we are going to talk about how you can best prepare for SAT and ACT exams.
Hey there, I'm Courtney and I'm the founder of Confused to College Ready. With over 15 years experience as a mental health therapist turned school counselor, I am bringing my experience and expertise to help you navigate the college search experience. My goal is to serve students and their families and unlock the secrets to college searching. Stay tuned.
So I want to just first thank you all. We actually have reached 2,000 downloads. We are over 2,000 downloads for our podcast. And that is completely thanks to you all, as you have been sharing our podcast, as you have been just enjoying it and letting other people know. So I just want to say thank you. It is such an honor for me to be able to serve, and I greatly appreciate your support. Let's go ahead and talk about some of these strategies to help you as you prep for the ACT exam or the SAT exam. So the first thing is you really need to figure out which test you're actually going to take. So you can take both exams, and I typically would encourage you to go ahead and try both exams to see if one of them is a better fit. You might think that that you're going to do better on one of the tests, and you take the other one and end up completely knocking it out of the park and doing an incredible job. So it really depends on you as a student. If you have not already, I would suggest, if you have not listened to our last episode number 53, and learning about the differences in the two tests and some different strategies and helpful information. If you haven't done that already, pause this episode right now. Please go back, listen to episode 53, where you will have an introduction to the ACT and SAT exams. And then from there, come back and we will dive more into being able to see which one of these is a better fit for you. It is important for you, not only do you have the opportunity to take the ACT and SAT on the national test dates, you also might have an opportunity to take the test on a school day. So it's important that you are aware of different free options for you to test in your state. Now, your state might not have that, but they might. And so we don't want you to end up missing out on a free opportunity to take a test. So for example, I live in South Carolina, and my state offers students in their third year of high school an opportunity to take the ACT or SAT for free. And so some of that's going to depend on the school about what is being offered for you, but I would absolutely encourage you to take a look, talk with your school counselors or administrators, whoever it is that is overseeing those tests, to find out if there is a free option for you to test at your school. The other thing is, for students that qualify for free or reduced lunch, I want you to be aware of the different fee waivers that might be available for you, and that is also something where you would want to make sure that you have talked to your school counselor about that, to find out what kind of proof you need to be able to provide to get that fee waiver to be able to take the test for free. If you are able to take the ACT or SAT for free, another thing that you might be able to get from either College Board or ACT are some application fee waivers when you are actually applying to college. So number one is you want to take a look at what test you are going to take. If you listened to the podcast from last week, one of the things that I also talked about is the difference in what you need with in taking those tests and different strategies to help you decide what is going to be the best fit. One of the things that the tests will also do is they actually will super score. So you can take the test multiple times, and it will take the higher of. So let's say that you took the SAT twice. One time you did better on English and reading. The second time you did better on math. And they're going to take the higher of those two scores and bring them together for a super score that your college would look at that information. So you want to be able to decide what test you want to take. The next thing that I would recommend is be aware of taking different practice tests. So that might be something like taking the PSAT at your school when that is offered in October typically, and that can often happen in sophomore year and junior year. It can give you a really good idea of what your strengths are as well as what you need to study so that you can improve the next time. Once you actually take that ACT and SAT, you also are going to have a better idea of what to study. So number one is looking at choosing which test you're going to take. Number two is looking at taking those practice exams, and that ties right into number three is understanding the content of the material that's being covered on the test versus being able to know what the test taking strategy is. So your content is really looking at how does the reading test, what are the different subjects for that? What is it that you can have an expectation on? What do you need to know as far as algebra? Do you need to know geometry and trigonometry? Do you need to know algebra 2? So when you are taking the PSAT, it's not going to cover as much of that content in depth as what the actual SAT is. So, and the ACT. When you look at that PSAT versus SAT, and when you look at SAT versus ACT, there are some comparison charts so that you can see what you might get. It's not a foolproof guarantee, but you could see what you might get if you were to look at your PSAT score, what might you get on the SAT? Or you can look at some equivalencies. If you get a certain score on the ACT or SAT, what might that be if you took the other test? And then, so that's going to help you know what to study. So number one is choosing what test you're going to take. Number two is looking at taking some practice tests. Number three is understanding that content versus test strategy. So we talked about knowing some of the differences of what is going to be expected for you on that test. The other part of that is the test taking strategy. So it is knowing what the makers of the test are looking for when they ask you a certain question. If there are certain things with reading that you need to take a look at, what is it that the test makers are wanting you to be aware of as you are reading that passage, and then how that pertains to answering the questions. If you are given 5 answer choices, 4 answer choices, is there a way for you to easily eliminate answers or to know what that question is asking for? Maybe the question says, what's the best answer? Maybe it uses the word and or in the question. And so knowing some of that content and the strategy behind those tests can help you know what steps to take next. So again, number one, just going back to recap, you've got choose what test you want to take. Number two is look at taking those practice tests. Number three is understanding the content of the test and what it's looking for versus the test taking strategy. The number five is, number four, I apologize. Number four is looking at different free resources that are available to you. And so you want to be able to, College Board and ACT, they might have a study guide or a booklet that you can get that can help talk to you and walk you through some of the basic information of what you should expect with the test. So there might be some study guides. Another free resource is going to be Khan Academy, KHAN Academy. And Khan Academy has actually partnered together with College Board to have some specific help with SAT. With that being said, you still are going to be able to have the opportunity to use those skills, because ACT and SAT, while they are different tests, they are looking at a lot of the same pieces and a lot of the same thing. So you can definitely use Khan Academy, and that can help you know what to study and where to focus your time. Then just being aware of other available resources. So if you do a simple Google search, maybe you have 3 months until you are going to be taking your ACT or SAT, and you did a Google search of test prep, ACT test prep plan 3 months, and it might bring up a list of different things and ways for you to study. Same thing with SAT. Maybe you have 2 weeks and you know that you're going to need to spend a lot of time really cramming in that study time to be able to prepare. but that's something that you can look at. Now, some of these things might be paid, but you can see what free resources are available, or if there are some basic things that you can take a look at. So being able to know how much time you have and kind of having a plan. If you do well, some people have the self-discipline and are able to really study on their own to see how they are doing with preparing for that test. And so there's different self-guided classes or programs that you can look at. Other people, you might want to be able to have a group that you are studying with, or maybe you need to be able to go into a class face-to-face rather than being on the computer. Maybe you need to have some individual time with someone to be able to help you. Some of this is certainly going to depend on your financial situation and what you are able to afford, in addition to the fact that that some of it's going to depend on how you as a student learn. And so being able to consider that is incredibly important, and we want to make sure that you are looking at the best resources for you, but also something that you are going to be able to afford and that is sustainable. Know that there's not a guarantee of studying and raising your score. There's not a guarantee, but it can absolutely be worth it to be able to look at just some of those study strategies and being able to look into the programs. You might find someone on TikTok, you might find someone on YouTube, you might find someone who is using a different social media platform to be able to give you some of those hints and tips. So just be aware, do your research, and be aware of some of those other resources that are available to you. So again, just to be able to recap, we have the first one, that first strategy is being able to choose what test you're going to take. Number 2 is taking your practice tests. Number 3 is understanding the content of the test versus the test taking strategy. 4 is using those free resources that are available to you. And 5 is being aware of other available resources. I hope that this has been helpful. If it is, please share this with your family and friends. Leave a review. We would absolutely love to hear from you about other content that would be helpful. And I hope that you have a fantastic week. Take care.
Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. Please subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Confused to Ready, and download our free guide on how to start or expand your college search at confusedtoready.com/how to start.